Good morning, my name is Kellyanne Eastwood and I'm an obstetrician and subspecialist in maternal and fetal medicine. Today I'm going to present our work on development of core outcome sets as part of the MumPredict study. As you're aware, more women are entering pregnancy with 2 or more health conditions, and these may affect outcomes for both them and their offspring, both during pregnancy and in the longer term. As part of the MumPredict team, we hope to design core outcome sets. These are a minimum set of outcomes that should be measured and reported when designing a clinical research study. Core outcome sets standardise outcomes so that we all speak in the same language and measure the same things. Importantly, they also allow researchers to evaluate health outcomes that matter to women, healthcare professionals and decision makers. Core outcome sets also allow us to combine and compare outcomes across studies, which helps to avoid reporting bias. The COMET initiative brings together people interested in the development and application of core outcome sets. The ultimate aim of core outcome sets are to harmonise research across conditions so that interventions or treatments may be made available to the public more quickly. When designing a core outcome set for multimorbidity in pregnancy, we must carefully consider the scope of our outcomes and also those involved, our stakeholders. Initially, a list of potential health outcomes is decided by reviewing the scientific literature and discussing these with stakeholder groups. Next, core outcomes are selected using a consensus process, which helps identify additional outcomes of interest and eliminate those of less importance. This process is detailed and transparent and helps avoid ambiguity. This slide summarises the steps involved in developing a core outcome set and highlights the involvement of researchers, healthcare professionals, patients and partners throughout the process. Consensus studies follow the core outcome set standards for reporting, also known as the COSTAR reporting guidelines. 2 ways in which core outcomes can be identified are by a Delphi survey or a nominal group technique. Both have advantages and disadvantages. As part of our work, we plan to conduct a Delphi survey using an online platform in order to represent a broad range of views from a wide group of stakeholders. This slide summarises the process of development of a core outcome set for gestational diabetes. After an initial review of the literature, a 3-round eDelphi survey was undertaken. Involved stakeholders, including patients, researchers and clinicians, were then required to rate the outcomes for inclusion on a scale from 1 to 9. Those that were included were then discussed at a consensus meeting, where an anonymous vote included those outcomes that had greater than or equal to 70% of the vote. Another example of development of core outcome set for multimorbidity shows a 2-round Delphi survey where a 5-point Likert scale was adopted. Both of these research groups were able to generate core outcome sets suitable for use in future research, firstly in prevention and treatment of gestational diabetes and for multimorbidity intervention studies. Turning to our work as part of the MumPredict team, we have already developed a protocol for our core outcomes. This will aim to evaluate multimorbidity before pregnancy, maternal, neonatal, child and early adult outcomes. We have also identified 79 conditions that will form our definition of multimorbidity. These have already been discussed with members of our scientific advisory group and also members of the public interested in research in pregnancy. Going forward, we plan to conduct a 3-round Delphi survey, and given the current pandemic, our consensus meeting will most likely be held virtually. We plan to involve a large number of stakeholders in order to represent all views, and have registered our planned work on the COMET database. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm very happy to take any questions.